I'm going to start prepping all the removable panels on Chewy now. I'm using the car to support them, just the handiest way to hold them. And you can see the rub strip that I took off the side has left all this adhesive on it. So I think the best thing for that is to try and sand them down. I think the wire wheel on the grinder would take away too much paint. So this is the handiest way to keep my paint levels nice and even for the later layers of paint.
It actually turned out that the sander was too hard to prevent from going through the good paint, and a delicate approach with the wire wheel on the grinder was actually better. I continued this all the way around on both sides, and it was easy enough to stop it from going too far. I did in a few spots, but they'll be looked after with the zinc primer I'm going to use after this process. There was also some transparent adhesive protection on the leading edge of the rear arches, just like our Nissan Leaf has. So this is obviously a Japanese fashion to quality control. The adhesive that held the plastic on the inside of the door cards to keep moisture out from the interior, this was really hard to remove. I tried it with the grinder and that was just spreading it everywhere. Scraper got a bit off, but there was no real ideal way to do this. I actually used some heavy duty tape, and I did manage to pull a good bit off quite cleanly with this, but it was just a combination of things to get it mostly off. And as I'm going to put another layer of adhesive on here again, I actually decided in the end to just tape over the last few traces of it with masking tape so that it doesn't adhere to my actual masking plastic on the door opening. Paint won't go over these bits, but it'll be mostly covered in the adhesive anyway. This was an area where moisture had obviously got trapped on the rear doors, which are obviously opened less often in the car. You can see the front doors weren't so bad, but I wanted to clear off this rust and get some anti-rust paint onto these areas. I hadn't removed the door lock mechanism from the rear hatch, so this is another detail I had to remove. This is for the key barrel, and just pull that out. They won't have to be masked. Another bit of that plastic moisture protection from under the boot card. Another two little rubber stops that steady the boot. I cleaned off a little bit of rust that was around the keyhole, and then removed the adhesive from that distinctive Charade red strip that joined the rear lights. I took some measurements of where the original stickers were, so if I manage to get some replacements, I'll be able to put them back in the correct position. Clean them off the same way as I did the little protective stickers from the front of the arches. So I'm taking off the inner wheel arch plastic protectors. Great thing to see on a car of this age. You can see that they really did their job. There's no corrosion really on that inside of the wing. No tar or anything sprayed up there. But I do want to put a little bit of extra paint on this area just to protect the car into the future, since the wings are on. So there's a tiny little bit of rust at the ends. This must have been a moisture trap. Just remove the heater. So I want to do the insides of these wings, and then I can fit them on the car, and then I can do the repairs that they need on the car while I go through all the rest of the panels. And one more little bit of that trim. Again, it's just surface rust, so I just need to grind it back to clean metal, and my zinc primer will look after that. A few little screws to remove. I'm filming these so that I can remember to put them back on again. A huge part of the preparation for this project was actually arranging storage for all the bits. Now I'm masking off the roof and windscreen. The roof is already painted, and that's my new windscreen that we went to France for, so definitely don't want to get paint on that. This is actually the cover that I've had over all my paints and stuff on my shelf, so I'm reusing the plastic as much as possible. So I started degreasing the panels. I'm not spraying it everywhere, but you know, the more work that this gets, the better. I don't want any of the overspray on top of dirt, so we'll degrease it now, and after filler on all these little spots that have been zinc primed, I'll also degrease the whole thing again. Do the insides of the wings. I want good adhesion here. I'm going to cover all of this area. So this zinc primer just needs about 10% cellulose to thin it out for the spray gun. I just mixed up about 100 ml at the start, but by the time I'd done 2 coats and a panel for another project, I actually used up the rest of the can, which was about 300 ml. It's great to be getting paint on these repairs on the boot hatch. This is another area where the rubber seal has trapped moisture, probably leaves, etc. And again, I hadn't rusted severely, but nice to get a bit of protection on here before we do any filling or further coats of paint. Covering these exposed areas has already given a sneak preview of how well Chewy's going to look when he gets all his little scars smoothed out and primer ahead of his top coats. I'm really pleased to have gotten these little bare metal patches protected, and I'm looking forward to getting some filler on them and getting all the surfaces smooth before final primer and top coats.